Yo, 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 welcome back. I am Day 9.
And I am H to the Yesky Husky.
And it's time for the StarCraft 2 GeForce Pro-Am right now with BoxeR versus Killer. Game number 2. In the bottom right, we have the man up 1-0 right now. It is Slayer's BoxeR. And in the left position, we do see TSL Killer as the red Protoss.
The map is going to be Tal'Darim Altar, which is kind of known to be a macro map. I mean, if you just take a gander at the mini-map, there's expansions everywhere. Each corner does have a total of 4 mineable bases, and grabbing the center watchtowers is extremely vital, especially the watchtower. In this situation is going to be the southern tower, which is between the two players. You always want to try and get that to see the movement of your opponent and exactly what's going on. So in that last game, Sean, I just kind of want to recap our Protoss player going for something that a lot of Protoss players are doing, which is getting heavy upgrades, but I feel like he may have went a little overboard with it. And while he did, the timing of the High Templar was good, but eating the EMPs in the face was not. So that's kind of, I think, that's what really sucked for him.
Truer words never spoken. Eating anything in the face from Terran is generally a little difficult, but of course the EMP, the hardest pill to swallow. Eliminating so many shields, and of course BoxeR making those force fields almost work against the Protoss in that spot. Map now. Going to favor a little bit more of the early expand style from BoxeR. Would be surprised to see him go for 2 racks, as that's easily decimatable by the Protoss player. We do see TSL Killer not going to be going for any insanely early Nexi. We do see the fast follow-up assimilator after that early gateway, and I'm curious to see what BoxeR is going to do. It looks like he's hinting towards an early expand, but keep in mind, if he detects his opponent trying to go for some sort of early expo himself, he can swiftly throw down 2 more barracks, push with SCVs and Marines, and generally win outright.
That is a very tough thing to hold off, especially since the chokes are very large on this map. A couple of force fields, not even enough to hold that off. It looks like it takes about 3 to kind of secure even just the choke between the natural and the main. Although, thankfully for Killer, he is going to be scouting the Terran opponent right away, and uses that probe to do some harassment. Did force BoxeR to have to follow it around with a single SCV, which is super annoying. And we do see a command center going down for BoxeR right now, doing this off of 1 barracks, really just expanding off of 1 Marine. This is about as quickly as you can expand as Terran without, you know, getting your command center before the barracks.
And another important thing to note, you have to get your bunker up hyper fast here. So we're going to see BoxeR now start the barracks at the bunker at 19 food. It looks a little too early, but is actually absolutely necessary, because if your opponent decides to push with an early Zealot and or Stalker, you are in a lot of trouble. So BoxeR clearly showing a lot of good prep. And the question now is, how will he follow it up? We see 1 barracks getting added. Will he be going for a faster drop play? Will he be going for a big barracks play? Almost any follow-up at this point is viable. It's all about what he thinks works better for his style.
And on this map, I have seen drop play utilized quite heavily, as again, the mains are large. There's a lot of places you can sneak medevacs in, as well as doing that double prong drop that we saw him attempt to do last game with not a lot of success. Now, he does have the Zealot at the watchtower right there. It looks like the Stalker may have been looking for some sort of proxy or something, as it was in an odd location. No, does find the scouting SCV, should be able to clean that one up, and BoxeR is going to be playing in the dark here, which Terran players are kind of used to this in a lot of situations, especially since he fast expanded. He knows that his scout is going to be much more delayed and is going to grab the tower on the left side. And look at this, Killer does have all 3 towers right now, just revealing the entire center of the map.
Yeah, these are the 2 big towers, and as you said, that southern one is the key tower, because if Terran does decide to push out, or vice versa, if you can spot it early on, you can get the sort of response defense that you need done. And this is an interesting fact. We're seeing BoxeR start his tech lab before he begins his factory. Will he be going for an early upgrade? He does. More often than not, especially on the Korean servers, you'll see players get that factory as quickly as they can, but BoxeR is favoring a little bit more of a ground-focused army. He will have enough for a factory right now as we hit the 6-minute and 10-second mark. And we see a second bunker just now getting started for BoxeR, but look at this, Husky. Blink. This is becoming the most popular way to combat early expands from those top Koreans. They just get Blink, and look at this key probe that's at the right. You see this little valley here, Mike? They can easily hop over it with Blink.
Yeah, and I do like the patrolling Marine. Oh, it looks like BoxeR finally moved it there, trying to prevent anything from getting on the high ground to spot for this potential blink. And, I mean, when you do have blink, you can circumnavigate the defense, but there is going to be Marauders. They do have that slow. It looks like BoxeR got pushed out here. May take these 2 units by surprise. He's microing that Marauder to slow the furthest one away and to trap it, and it looks like both Stalkers are going to go down. Not a comfortable position to be in when your whole build revolves around the amount of Stalkers you have.
You know, a lot of times people will ask, what's the best way to deal with this blink? And many will say to have extra defense up to control stuff in your base better, but BoxeR doing the smartest of all, killing it before it even gets going. Look at this great positioning. All the Stalkers have been forced back. BoxeR now going to pull back. He's delayed that by a little bit, and we do see a couple more Stalkers getting morphed in. We see that probe over at the bottom right side, sneakily positioning himself. Missile turret going down by BoxeR at just the right time, and BoxeR using the style that I first saw Slayer's Gonzi do. Clearly makes sense that they live in the same house. We're seeing a big mass ground army come up from BoxeR, and here's the push at the front, target firing one of the bunkers, and that's going to fall down. BoxeR smartly pulls back those Marauders, and here's the big repair. Oh!
So dangerously close. He is going to be able to hang on there, forcing the blink away, also revealing the fact that he has blink if he didn't know at that point. And Sean, it seems like that build that he just went right there trying to break the entrance relied extremely heavily on sniping the bunker before his opponent can respond. You can see that these units have blinked on the low ground. They are going to get spotted here by the Stalkers, or by the SCVs rather, so some of them are going down, but Marauders are here to prevent these Stalkers from safely blinking inside the main.
And there's the swap on the starport. He wants to try to be able to get the double production up, but uh-oh, Blink Stalker's coming in at the front. BoxeR's going to have amazing crisis management, but that is one of his trademark plays, one of the best in the business at just fighting to stay alive, but we see this Blink Stalker play by TSL Killer really bringing a lot of noise. And look at this brilliance! He's landed the factory in the only location where units can blink up. This will buy him a few needed seconds. He will end up losing the factory, but he's going to be able to reposition his units to kill off. Looks like there's the blink up, and he's on the high ground. The stim is now done for BoxeR, but there are too many Blink Stalkers. TSL Killer might have broached a hole for an easy early win.
And we do have 48 supply now. BoxeR throwing down a couple units immediately. Is going to try and squeeze out these 2 medevacs. Not sure if they're going to finish in time, but if he can get those out, it may be a key to keeping his army alive unless they both get sniped. No, he rally points it away. One of them does go down. The other one goes down as well. And now this may be a good time to retreat after killing this reactor. We'll see if BoxeR is going to have enough to hold on here. And BoxeR down to 22 workers while the Protoss is at 26.
And it looks like he's trying to pull that one starport back. Would definitely love to have some extra medevacs in here. But we see, how is BoxeR going to respond? It looks like, he's sweeping all the way around, actually going to be sacrificing his main to a large extent, just to be able to kill off these Stalkers that are on the low ground, killing off the proxy pylon. That's going to help tremendously. And we see with all this excess resources the Killer's been building up, he might just barely have enough for an expansion nexus. He has that probe in position right now. BoxeR now pulling back all his Marine Marauders, and BoxeR loses the orbital command in his main. And he's going to lose the starport. The starport falls down, and here comes the force from BoxeR. Not stimming yet, as those units can blink onto the low ground, and just doing a regular attack, and Husky, we're hitting 1145, and BoxeR is re-expanding to his main. This is not where you want to be.
Yeah, not a good situation, although his opponent just now expanding as well. And the worker advantage is not ginormous, only 2 workers for the Protoss, so I definitely wouldn't count BoxeR out of this one quite yet. I mean, yes, he is at a supply disadvantage. He did lose a lot of his tech, lost a lot of his add-ons, as well as being forced to kind of restart from scratch. But he does have a nice little group of Marines and Marauders that will at least keep his base alive, at least that natural. I can't imagine these Stalkers being able to finish it off, although Killer seems to disagree, as he has a lot of Stalkers warping in a lot more and is going to continue this attack in the front versus those bunkers.
Looks like he's going to be losing a lot. He's target firing the bunkers. Needs to be doing a little bit better. Blink back micro. What is TSL Killer doing? He lost so many units in that engagement. Another Stalker goes down. His Stalker army just ripped in half. We see BoxeR's now hit that critical number of Marauders to where he is actually very threatening, and now he has units controlling his own high ground. He doesn't need to cower back by these bunkers. He's now successfully locked down the back valley where so many blink-ups were happening, and BoxeR slowly starting to rebuild his basic infrastructure, retaking an orbital command, sending SCVs back to mine at the main. And in the base of TSL Killer, we see just 3 gateways, And the Twilight Council now getting Zealot leg speed.
I was going to say he needs Zealots in this situation, especially since a lot of those units have been weakened. I mean, if you look at the Marines and Marauders outside of the base of BoxeR, they're loading up in those bunkers, but they are at about half HP on a lot of those, so if you can get Zealots to absorb some of the damage, the Stalkers can finish those off, but definitely losing that many Stalkers in that last engagement is going to soften the advantage that he found himself at. Looks like he's going to scout out this third base, sees that there's nothing there, so he's not going to feel too bad about losing those, but I mean, really, the fact of the matter is that he didn't follow this up with a lot of units instead, or he did follow it up with a lot of units instead of following it up with a lot of workers, and that can backfire, Sean, as we just saw there, losing that, so he's not as far ahead as he could have been if he just kind of fell back and started massing up his units.
And in particular, BoxeR is starting to get the upgrade lead. If he brilliantly adds on more upgrades right now, I'll be blown away. I mean, that would be so smart right now. There's no pressure that TSL Killer can do. TSL Killer is in defense mode. He's trying to get his expansion up. He's trying to get those essential upgrades up for his army. And if BoxeR can just sit tight, get those upgrades up, and get the big lead in that regard, he will easily swing far ahead. And there's the armory going down. Let's see if he adds on another engineering bay. I mean, as Thorzane was demonstrating in his series against MC, bigger upgrades for Terran leads to a very, very easy set of ground battles.
Yeah, and it's very important to note that his one armor just finished. He already had +1 for a long time, and even in that kind of crisis management mode you're talking about, Sean, still able to have a huge upgrade lead, which is definitely helping him here. And there is going to be a Templar Archives on the way for our red Protoss. Looks like he's going to be going either for Psystorm if he feels comfortable enough that he has enough gas now, even though his expansion was delayed, or potentially going for those Archons. And I really like the, at least being active with his Stalkers. He's looking for drops, looking for hidden expansions, and he's been using them every second, really. He even used them to clean out those rocks for a potential quick third to follow up his natural. So right now, I would definitely say the Protoss is in a peculiar position, but especially if he figures out that he's going up against those 1-1 upgrades, does look like Psystorm right now.
Yeah, we do see the 2-2 upgrades just now getting started for BoxeR, and I mean, if you stepped into this game right now and didn't see the timer, you would see a Protoss in a little bit of an awkward spot and a Terran player who's slowly pulling far ahead. But you got to remember that BoxeR did an incredible hold in the early game. I'm blown away not just at the way he was able to stay composed and not die during that battle, but also that his follow-up is very calm. It's not panicky. The adrenaline isn't affecting his decision-making.
And we do have a lot of things on the way from BoxeR. Another command center, a Ghost Academy, bunkers, Marines, Marauders. His production tab is very heavy right now. The Protoss just securing his third. This may be a good time for BoxeR to try and poke in there, see if he can make anything happen. But he's not going to have any ghosts yet, which we saw him utilize that EMP so effectively last game. And so maybe he's going to just kind of wait for that, feel a little bit more comfortable. And I'm noticing that BoxeR really loves these ghosts in most matchups and uses them extremely effectively against the Protoss. I think that is something that a Terran player, a lot of Terran players out there, wait a little too long to get those ghosts, but the timing of it is right when the High Templar have enough energy for their storms.
Uh-oh. Looks like here comes a little engagement from the Protoss player, but we see BoxeR smartly pulling all the way back. BoxeR playing Terran versus Protoss in a way that's becoming more common. We're seeing less drops, less harassment, less all over the placeness from the Terran, and instead a core, small, focused army, ghosts coming out, lots of upgrades coming out, and like you were saying, Husky, we see 3 ghosts done, and now 2 more coming out. BoxeR loves those ghosts, but he's going to have to do some great storm dodging if he wants to stay alive.
Right now, he doesn't have enough energy for the EMP. You can see he tried to run those ghosts up there. They are going to get feedback, which is not enough to kill the ghost. It is enough to kind of knock out a lot of the EMPs, though, but that is just way too many units from BoxeR. One storm not hitting a lot there, and it does look completely decimated there. I'm curious to see the units lost tab. Yes, it is heavily favoring BoxeR after that engagement. Will be able to save this bunker as well if he decides to repair it, as SCVs are scooting on past that burning bunker. And he was able to hold there perfectly, Sean. I feel like maybe at least attacking that third base would have been a better option, as BoxeR was ready for him and heavily fortified.
It's such an awkward spot, because, I mean, if you go for the third base, it looks like that's what TSL Killer is going to do now. If you go for the third base, you've essentially trapped your units. If he defends appropriately in the bottom right, then he can sweep around through mid and capture you. So this is going to be a very big, desperate attack from the Protoss player. He needs to do a lot of damage. He's throwing down force fields. He's actually just target firing. What a huge mistake from TSL Killer. We're seeing BoxeR calmly kite everything, rush up. There's going to be some Templar there, but the Ghosts are getting in position. Oh, a great storm. Ouch, really grabs almost all those Terran units. That actually was the one ticket to retreat. And TSL Killer actually amazingly able to defend himself, but is getting in increasingly of a rough spot. And when that cloak's finished, my gosh, Husky, he's going to cloak and kill off everything.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize how good Cloak is versus Protoss, especially when he's noticing, hey, I don't think there's any observers around here. None of my EMPs are grabbing them at a stealth either. And there are a lot of High Templars, so it's going to come down to, can BoxeR EMP them, or are the storms going to get too out of control? There is going to be another attack over here. Does force the liftoff, but is Killer going to have enough units to take on this army directly, as he's mostly storming his own zealots right there? You can see them just melting away. And I do like these defensive storms where if BoxeR decides to chase that, he's going to find himself in a storm killing off all of his units.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Storm in Brood War did so much damage, and in this game doesn't do as much, but it deals that damage mighty fast. So those defensive Storms, if you place them properly, any units that enter are going to immediately drop down to at least yellow health. We see a lot of Ghosts slowly approaching forward. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, this could be big, Mike. It looks like, oh, if you're just on the vision of TSL Killer, you can barely see the ripple of those retreating Templar, and they're all clustered together. Oh, no, and there's the scan. Oh, and he hits a huge chunk of them. Immediate response storms, but look at that. Almost all the energy is gone, and BoxeR sees the opportunity, and he is going to seize it.
Marching out right now, 183 supply, powering these units, trying to end it right now. BoxeR again showing us the power of the Ghost, as he did use that Cloak perfectly. Unfortunately, those High Templars are just so slow that even Cloak Ghost got to be able to hunt them down, and this is going to be a very crucial battle. Can the Protoss hold here? A nice blink there to get all of his zealots charging in immediately. Storm's going to be trapping the units as well. Even a couple Archons going to be joining in the fray, attempting to focus down those Ghosts, but Sean, look at how quickly those Archons melt away versus the upgraded Terran. 2-2 on the upgrades for the Terran, 0-0 for our Protoss, and 3-3 is nearly completed.
So smart. This is why I love a player who opts for upgrades when he's in that awkward spot. Protoss clearly in a desperation mode, and then BoxeR just waited patiently, and now in these final engagements, it is so one-sided. BoxeR's unit so much stronger. And look at this huge army rolling back through mid. BoxeR not even gearing up to take a fourth. He has 3 base versus 2 base. And essentially a 1 base, as we see that the main is nearly mined out. Colossus range finishing up, and looks like BoxeR is going to count to 10, wait for these 2 level 3 upgrades to finish, and then move in for a killing blow.
Yeah, BoxeR's response here, I would say, has been absolutely perfect. He was able to keep those units alive long enough to get those upgrades, and the 3-3 going to be finishing up any second now, and a fully maxed out upgrade group of Marauders. I mean, he's switched into almost all Marauders. I don't even know if I see a Marine in that group. Only one. No, there's a couple in there, but mostly Marauders. And that's going to be pretty good against the fact that there's only one Colossus, a second one trying to get out right now. But there's just no big ground army for our Protoss. The supply counts kind of tell the story right now. A scan going to reveal that BoxeR is just 1 second away from crushing this army.
There's some big storms that go down by TSL Killer, immediately morphs those Templar into an Archon. So BoxeR is going to count to 10 again. Let as many of his units heal. And there's the Cloak. He scans. If he sees an observer, he can just right-click it. And there we see some storms trying to pick off the ripple. He snipes the remaining Templar. And uh-oh, here comes the big EMPs. Archon's down to virtually no health. There's the stim and go, and TSL Killer is losing to BoxeR's version of power overwhelming. Colossus falls, and there's the good game. BoxeR takes an incredible Game 2, 2-0 against one of the top Korean Protosses, and I honestly credit it all to that amazing upgrade lead that BoxeR started so early on.
And Sean, do you think that Killer made any huge mistakes there that went from, oh, he's doing really good with these stalkers, to, oh, now he kind of completely messed that up? Or was it just that BoxeR's response was so spot on that it kind of put the Protoss player, like, with that build, it just kind of put him behind?
There were a couple moments early on where I think TSL Killer was just a little surprised. I mean, rarely ever does a Terran say, okay, I'll kill your proxy pylon in exchange for you killing my whole main base, and then I'll be fine. Almost always, Terrans just leave in the spot that BoxeR's in. But since we got the chance to see the whole map, we got to see that, yeah, if you're making that many Blink Stalkers that early on, you really can't take that fast of an expansion. So I think Killer was just surprised that BoxeR calmly sacked what he was supposed to sack. And then TSL Killer did that big follow-up attack at the front by the bunkers, losing 6 or 7 stalkers, a gigantic loss. And I mean, even if you go to the units lost tab at this last phase, I mean, you'll always see the loser having lost a couple more resources worth of units, but it is basically double. And that is a remarkable display of BoxeR's defensive abilities, the fact that he is able to just get so many of his units into good positions. I mean, that one stalker loss, I really think, was the big blunder from Killer that caused him to be on defensive footing for the last maybe 15 minutes of the game.
That does show you at this high level of play that losing just a couple units, I mean, he lost those 2 stalkers in the beginning as well, can really just kind of snowball as the game progresses on. BoxeR able to crawl his way and claw his way back into this game. So I hope you guys enjoy it, and we are, of course, going to be casting more games. This has been the GSPA, so thank you for joining me, Sean. I will let you sign this out, but for me, I will see you guys next time in the next series.
Big hearts. Bye-bye.